All right, hello everyone. So this video is a little bit different by popular request. So I wanted to just go over my 3 horses and share with you guys a little bit about each one of them because they all have super different personalities and they're all really special horses. So this is Harvey. Harvey is my oldest horse. He's 10 this year. He's a KWPN. I've had him since he was 5. So we've had him for like 5 years. And his best quality is his sweetness. Like he's like really the most sweet horse ever. But when you get on him, he's also like really, really sensitive and hot. So that's what I like about Harvey. And this year we are doing the Developing Grand Prix. Hopefully we will be going to Chicago in August. I have a lot of questions from you guys about the horses. So I'm gonna do a few with Harvey, then we'll move on to Kensington. Kensington is Harvey's twin. He lives next door. So let's see. Beta says, how do you start working with them when they arrive at the stable, lunging them, riding, and getting to know them? So when Harvey came from Europe as a 5-year-old, he got here like in the middle of a windstorm. We have these Santa Anas here in California, and he was like kind of freaked out. Also, when they go to quarantine, like when they come from Europe, they have to go in quarantine and they do a lot of weird stuff to them in quarantine. Like they take their temp all the time and they stick their fingers in their ears. So he was like really freaked out, honestly. So with all my horses, I really take my time letting them settle in. I do a lot of groundwork at first because I don't want to have any bad experiences. And if like something happens, like you fall off or they get scared, it's really bad for them. So take your time with a new horse. That's my advice.
Hi, soy Jose. I groom for Amelia.
Say, I make all the horses pretty.
I make all the horses pretty for her. Adios.
Thank you, Jose.
De nada.
Okay, next question is from Agata. Do you ride bareback? No, I don't ride bareback. My assistant who's filming does, but I don't like to ride bareback. Next question is from Vicky. Oh, we'll answer that when we get to Luigi because it's about Luigi. Simona, are they very different to ride because their character is very different? So yes, they are very different to ride for sure. Harvey is like the most sensitive, and so I have to like really, like he almost, the more pressure you put on him, he doesn't like it. So I always have to really work on refining my age, which is hard sometimes because he's not a horse that you can just like kick him and force him to do it. You have to ride him very softly and diplomatically. So yeah, that's Harvey. Someone else asked like about where your horse likes to be scratched. Harvey is like the sweetest horse and he pretty much likes to be scratched anywhere. So he likes to get scratched on his neck a lot. The other thing that's really cute about Harvey is that he loves Levi. And Levi's a little bit leery of Harvey, like, because I think Levi's probably gotten stepped on and like chased by horses. But ever since I got Harvey, he like has really wanted to bond with Levi. So anyways, this is Harvey. He's probably my favorite, but don't tell the other 2. And I really enjoyed having him and training him. He's very bouncy to ride, and that's part of what makes him fun. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the favorite one. We're going to move over to Kensington. Oh boy, Harvey. You're a good boy. Okay, so this is Kensington, and Kensington is 7 this year. And he's also KWPN, but they're not related. So it was actually really funny when I went to get Kensington. He was not my first choice, but he's like literally Harvey's twin. Like they look so much alike. They have almost the same blaze. although their personalities are quite different. Kensington is probably the most shy horse that I have. Like, he is really an introvert. If you walk up to him, his first instinct is to just like back away. So he's super shy. He's got amazing movement. Like, his trot and his canter, he has like so much hawk action. And so that's part of why I got him, is because his movement is amazing. Someone asked on Facebook, I asked you guys what your questions were and about how different they all were. So Harvey is like really sensitive. Kensington sometimes can be like a little bit more on the lazy side, like where I'll have to kind of kick him or he'll get a little bit too hard in the contact, but he's also super sensitive. And so like balancing those two things is really hard, like getting him to react, but then not getting him worried, because that's kind of what happens, is that he doesn't react and then he'll overreact and get really worried about it. So over the years, we've been building trust with one another. Let me see what other questions you guys have. F.H. Harris, what is the biggest difference between the three in terms of riding? So I would say Harvey and Luigi have the bounciest trots. Kensington is actually the smoothest. Harvey is super light in the contact. Kensington can be a little bit stronger in the contact. And yeah, they all just have such different personalities. Luigi's kind of pushy and like the tough guy. Kensington is like the really shy, reserved guy that really doesn't like to be in trouble. So they definitely all have different personalities, and I have to adjust the way that I train them based on their personalities. Okay, this is a good one. Nella, how I ended up with each of them, what made me pick these particular horses, and what are my future plans for each of them? Okay, that's like a ton of questions. But basically, Harvey is the horse I've had the longest, and I sold my old Grand Prix horse. His name was Trump. I sold him, and then I went and found Harvey. I actually had seen Harvey a year before, but I at the time wasn't looking for a horse. I didn't have the money to buy a horse. So then when I saw Harvey a year later, I was like, oh, I really want that horse. He was out of my budget. He was super expensive. So I had to like beg and plead to get people to help me buy him, but I'm really glad I did. Kensington, again, I had sold another horse, and that's kind of what I do, is that I buy a young horse and then train them up. And then if they aren't like, if they get stuck somewhere along their training, then I'll sell them. So I had another horse named Gatsby who I trained up to I1. I sold him, so I had some money, and I went and I bought Kensington. And again, I bought him as a 5-year-old, like literally right before COVID started is when I purchased Kensington. He was not my first pick, actually. I had another horse that I vetted first that didn't pass the vet check, and then Kensington was my second pick. The reason that I wasn't sure about Kensington is that his canter was really unbalanced. So when I tried him in Europe, like, he has a huge canter, and it was pretty hard to manage his canter, like in the turns and stuff. So that's where I was concerned about if he was going to be able to collect well enough or not. But when I tried Kensington in Europe, we were in this indoor arena, and it started like pouring rain. Like, it was so loud, and he was a really good boy. He just kept working, and so he's the sweetest horse, and he's been a challenge to train. Sometimes I get a little frustrated with him because he's so sensitive that when you put pressure on him, sometimes he kind of just panics instead of thinking his way through it. So it's taken a long time to develop that trust with him. And also because he moves so big, his legs like go everywhere. And so just helping him figure out his balance and his coordination has been tough. Okay, next question. How do you find time to ride, train, work and be social, and do videos too, and then be ready for the shows? Okay, that is a very good question. And basically, my normal routine is that I get up at 5 and I work on my computer for a couple of hours. I come to the barn. I try to ride my horses first because I learned that from someone a long time ago, that they were like, as a trainer, you should always ride your horses first. Otherwise, you leave them till the end of the day and then they don't get done well. So I really worked towards like building myself up to where I have the luxury of riding them in the morning. It doesn't always happen that way, but I try to do it that way. Then I teach some lessons and then I go back home and work again. So basically I'm a workaholic. My poor husband, luckily, is very supportive. But yeah, I've worked really hard to have these horses and it is hard work. So having any horse is hard work and it takes a lot of time and consistency and commitment. I think my favorite thing to do on like a Sunday, which is technically the barn day off, is to come and ride my horses and spend time with them. So this is Kensington. He's maybe the prettiest of them all. I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments which one you think is the prettiest. Okay, you're done. We'll move on to Luigi, the forgotten child. Boy, come on, you gotta be a video star. You gotta be a video star. Hi.
He's pretty though.
He is pretty. Okay, so this is Luigi. He's, I guess, like the dark horse of the family, which is like kind of funny. I don't really particularly like chestnuts, but Harvey and Kensington look the same, and Luigi is like dark and small. And I don't talk a lot about him because he's like my newest horse. And so I decided that I like don't have love at first sight. I feel like with all my horses, the longer I have them, the more I love them and bond with them, because it's like, as you develop with your horse, you develop such a connection to them, and that just takes time. So with Harvey, like I've had Harvey for 5 years. I've done a lot of shows and like taken him a lot of places. So I really feel like I know him. And Luigi and I are getting there. We've been to some shows, and he's also the youngest. So he's 6, Kensington's 7, and then Harvey's 10. One thing, like I love getting horses when they're young and then training them up the levels, but their personalities definitely change. Like they have the same personality, but it kind of evolves as they mature. So Luigi, my other two are like pretty hot and sensitive. Luigi's hot and sensitive, but he's also kind of extroverted and pushy compared to the other two. So when I ride him, I have to be like way more determined and clear and firm with him. Whereas like with Kensington, I have to give him a lot of confidence and reassurance. This guy has plenty of confidence. He needs a little bit more submission and discipline at time. That said, I think everyone at the barn, like my husband and my clients are all like, Luigi is the best one that you have. He's like really special. He has a lot of talent to sit and collect and for the piaffe and passage. So we'll see. It's really fun to like take a young horse and train it up the levels and see how they develop. Someone asked me about like how I picked all my horses, and I always like to ride them before I purchase them, because I think that you get so much information by riding them. Like when you see them on a video, you really have no idea. So you need to be able to like sit on them and feel what they're like in order to have a good read on whether or not it's the right horse for you. And also for me, I'm always looking for a horse that has like Grand Prix potential, which you can't always tell at 5, but you can get a sense of that when you're able to sit on them and ride them. Okay, next question. Do they have tricks that they try to get out of doing something asked of them? My horse throws his left shoulder. So yes, they do all have little things that they try to do. Luigi likes to fall into the right. Harvey likes to brace his left jaw. Kensington likes to lean on the right rein. So, I mean, that's part of training, is that they all have like little things they do. And as you train them through consistency and through repetition, it gets better and better over time. Like they'll still always have those tendencies, but it should get less and less. Okay, next question. How tall are they in metrics, please? Hands, I don't know how tall they are. Luigi is not 17 hands. I would say he's 16.2. Kensington is the tallest. I would say 17.1. And Harvey's just a little bit shorter than Kensington, but not by much. Jane, Amelia, do you, Amelia, react differently with each horse or train them equally? Yes, I do react differently with each of them. Like I mentioned, he needs like more strictness and clarity. The other two, I have to be more like giving them confidence and rewarding them. Next question is from Anne. Are they friends? So yes, they are friends. Actually, a funny thing is that Luigi used to live over there next to Harvey. Luigi used to live over there next to Kensington. Kensington ate like Luigi's entire tail out. So like it was seriously pathetic. So he now has a fake tail because it really looked terrible. And I had to put in like an electric fence, and I don't know why Kensington felt that he should eat his tail out. But so yes, they are friends. Okay, next question is from Monica. How do you focus their training, building up strengths or what they find easy, shoring up weaknesses or their least favorite stuff? What do you do for each for cross training? So that's a good question, and it's actually nice to have several different horses because they all have things that they do better. And like Luigi, for example, he's really good at like sitting and collecting. And so then I can like take that feeling and try to put that into one of the other horses or vice versa. I mean, that said, I have like a different approach with each of them, but I always, focus on the training scale and like consistency and repetition. And then also they develop over time. So like what he's doing as a 6-year-old is different than what Kensington's doing as a 7-year-old. And you kind of start to see that progression when you have horses that are a different age. Okay, one more question. Ginger says, can I have one? Just one of them. No. Okay, here's a good question from Diana. At what point do you make the choice, we're ready for Europe? What goals must you and your horse achieve to get to that level? Yeah, we're not ready for Europe yet. I think like going and training in Europe would be a dream come true, but they have to like be really good before you get there. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the meet and greet with the 3 horses, and let me know in the comments if you found it helpful or if you have any other questions, or tell me a little bit about your horse. And thanks for watching. The end. Ha.